អូខេសួស្តីអ្នកទាំងអស់គ្នាយើងបានបញ្ចប់អស់4រឿងទៅហើយណាឥឡូវនេះយើងអឺអាចឈានចូលទៅរឿងទី5របស់យើងណាតែយើងបានមុននឹងចូលរឿងទី5របស់យើងនេះណាខ្ញុំបានរៀបចំ midterm ឲ្យគ្នាយើងរួចជាស្រេចហើយដែរហើយណាឥឡូវនេះយើងអាចឈានចូលដល់រឿងទី5របស់យើងតែម្ដងណាដែលមានចំណងជើងថា Dr. Heidegger's experiment. Okay, now we can start together. Unit 5, Part 1, Dr. Heidegger's experiment. Dr. Heidegger experiment, Part 1. Dr. Heidegger was a strange old man. Once he invited 4 friends to meet him at his house. 3 of his guests were old men with white beards. Their names were Mr. Medbourne, Mr. Gascon, and Colonel Killigrew. The 4th person was an elderly woman with white hair. She was called the widow Wycherley. All of these people had lived very sad and unfortunate lives. Years ago, Mr. Medbourne had been a rich man, but because he was greedy, he made some bad business deals and lost his fortune. Now he had to beg for money. Mr. Gascon had been a famous politician, but he was dishonest. He was caught stealing money and was sent to jail. Now he was poor and lived in shame. Colonel Killigrew was once a great soldier, but he spent his life eating and drinking too much. Now his health was bad and he was sick all the time. As for the widow Wycherley, she was one quite beautiful, but she was very conceited. She thought that she was the most beautiful woman in the town. She was not beautiful now. The 3 men had each loved her very much when they were young. Once they almost killed each other fighting over her, but that was many years ago. "My dear old friends," said Dr. Heidegger, "please come with me to my laboratory. I need your help with a little experiment." Dr. Heidegger showed them the way. Dr. Heidegger's laboratory was certainly an unusual place. It was a large, dark room covered with spider webs and dust. Around the walls stood tall wooden bookcases that were filled with books. Between 2 of the bookcases there was a large painting of a young woman in a long silk dress. More than 50 years ago, Dr. Heidegger was going to marry this woman. The day before their wedding, she suddenly became ill. Dr. Heidegger gave her some medicine, but she died that evening. Some people said that Dr. Heidegger made a mistake and gave her the wrong medicine. My dear old friends, repeated Dr. Heidegger, may I count on your help with my little experiment? Dr. Heidegger did not wait for an answer. He walked slowly across the room to one of the bookcases. He opened a book and removed a rose from its pages. Yes, it was a rose, or what once was a rose. The red flower had turned brown and seemed ready to crumble to dust in the doctor's hands. Dr. Heidegger said, 55 years ago, this rose was given to me by the woman I wanted to marry. Her name was Sylvia Ward. You can see her picture hanging there on the wall. I was going to wear this rose in my jacket on our wedding day. Dr. Heidegger looked at his gaze and said, 45 years I have saved this rose between the pages of a book. For 55 years I have treasured this rose. Dr. Heidegger asked suddenly, do you think that this old rose could never bloom again? No, never, said the widow bitterly. You might as well ask if an old woman's wrinkled face would ever be young again. Watch, watch, said Dr. Heidegger. They were sitting around a table. In the middle of the table was a large glass vase. It was filled with a liquid that looked like water. There were also four glasses on the table. Dr. Heidegger picked up the vase. He poured some of the water onto the rose. At first nothing happened, but then the oil dried out. Rose began to bloom. The rose turned red. A moment later, it looked as fresh and lovely as it did 55 years ago. The doctor's friends smiled and clapped their hands. That was a wonderful trick, said Mr. Gascon. How did you do it, my friends? Said Dr. Heidegger. That's no, that was no trick. Have you ever heard of the fountain of youth? The fountain of youth? Exclaimed Mr. Gascon. Yes, said Dr. Heidegger. The water from that fountain makes everything young again. Pon de Leon, the Spanish explorer, searched for the fountain centuries ago. Did he ever find it? Asked the widow bitterly. No, answered Dr. Heidegger. He was not looking in the right place. I have learned that The fountain is hidden in a forest near Lake Macaco in the southern part of Florida. Dr. Heiddegger's gaze were astonished and looked at each other in surprise. "A friend of mine," said Dr. Heidegger, "knows that I am interested in things like this. He sent me some water from the fountain. It is here, in this vast." Colonel Killigrew coughed softly. He smiled and shook his head. He did not believe a word of the doctor's story. The colonel stared at the vase and then asked, "But tell me this, doctor. What would happen if a person drank that water?" "You shall see for yourself," said Dr. Heidegger. "Yes, all of you shall see." Dr. Heidegger pointed to the vase. "My friends," he said, "you may drink as much of this water as you wish. Grow as young as you want to be. As for me, it took me a long time to grow old. I am in no hurry to grow young again. I will be happy just to watch." Okay, this is the end of part 1. So please try to read and try to listening to my reading and follow my reading, and please try to understand the story from the beginning until the end of part 1. Okay, thank you so much for your watching my video clip. Thank you.